I'm Greg Welchins, and I'm sitting here with Jack Miller, one of the legends of our industry, somebody I've looked up to for a very long time since I joined this industry. And the purpose of today is to just talk about the City of Hope and the history of it. And you are the history of it. And we look forward to hearing some of your words on the beginnings and your thought process on why and the how of City of Hope with our industry. So, that's kind of the first question. You're in Chicago. You have a great company. You're with other people that are of like mind, and someone decides we need to do something besides just sell pens and pencils. We need to give back. Why the City of Hope?
Well, it started this way. There was an office furniture dealer in Chicago named Aaron Hall. And Aaron was a really good guy, ran a good small company. One of his employees got cancer, and they were treating at the City of Hope.
Hmm.
So Aaron said, well, I want to do something for the City of Hope. I want to raise some money. So he came to me and asked me if I would be the chair for his dinner. He wanted to have a dinner. And so I said, yeah, you're a good guy. I like you. So I was the chair for his dinner, and that was the first dinner for the City of Hope. And I don't remember exactly how much we raised, but it was somewhere around $80,000.
That's fantastic.
Dinner. And then, as we were having dinner, the representative from the City of Hope leaned over to me at the table and said, Jack, would you put together, number one, would you be the second honoree? And number two, would you put together a group that would be the office products group for the City of Hope? Well, I said, yeah, okay. So I was the second honoree, and we raised about $135,000 at that dinner. That's the way we got started. And then I called together about 8 or 10 people in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to a deli in Skokie for lunch, and we started talking about what we can do. So that's the way it got started.
Mm-hmm.
And after my dinner, I became chairman of that group for the next 20 years or so.
Wow.
And it became more and more and more of an industry event. And now, of course, you guys have taken it to such heights that it's amazing. It's a story, it's like a business. My business started with a phone in my dad's chicken store. We ended up with 800,000 customers nationwide. It's America.
Were there other industry charities at the time?
No, the industry at the time, all you had was the Office Products Council,
Mm-hmm.
I guess in Washington, which was the industry organization.
Right.
And then they had their shows every year, which started out at a hotel downtown in Chicago.
Was that NOPA?
Yeah,
NOPA.
Office Products Association.
Right.
And the only thing I remember from all the NOPA conventions is that they kept saying, you got to sell it list price, you got to sell it list price. And so I went into the industry. I started publishing discount prices, and I was that 30 discounter.
That's hilarious. That's when margins were really good in this industry.
Oh, yeah, they were great.
Now, so you gathered 8 other guys, right? I know Jamie was one of those, Jamie Fellows, He was he the young buck of the group, or
I can't remember. I imagine so. He was just a kid when he called on me, started calling on me.
who were the others? Do you remember some of that?
Can't remember.
Got it.
Can't
Got it.
remember.
Wow.
But we started, and then we had meetings, and then we sometimes met in New York, where we had some events, national events in New York, the office products, and we'd meet at a hotel there. And we kept it going, and it kept growing little by little by little.
Did you ever visit the campus in Pasadena?
Yes, I did. I was there several times. In fact, when my wife got cancer, we went out there to talk to them. The doctors here said that she only had a year or so to live, and we went out to City of Hope, and they confirmed that the type of cancer she had was not curable in that way. I remember the doctor. It was a wall filled with file cabinets. He went there. He picked out one thin folder, and he said, "Here's the number of cases that we have seen with the cancer your wife has."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my wife died of cancer. My father-in-law died of cancer. My brother died of cancer. So, it's pretty important.
Touches us all, right?
I'll tell you something. We had a dinner one time,
Mm.
and in every place setting, we put a flashlight, and the room was dark. And I said, everyone who has cancer, stand up and turn on your flashlight. So we had some flashlights. And we said, anyone where you had family that's had cancer, turn on your flashlight. There's a lot more people.
Mm.
And then we said, anyone who knows anyone that had cancer, stand up. The whole room was lit up. The whole room. It was a pretty dramatic showing
Absolutely.
of how much.
It touches us all, right? Yeah. Yeah. So you were chair for 20 years.
About 20 years, yeah.
So at the beginning, how did you pick the honorees? Was it different industries? What was your thought?
We had one rule that I insisted on. Anybody who is going to be honored has to deserve the honor. They have to be somebody who has high integrity, someone who runs a good business, and they deserve to be honored. And we observed that, except for one time, which was sort of a controversial pick. But he could raise money, and that overrode that
Sure.
concept. But
Sure.
ever since then, I'm sure they stuck with that.
Yes. Yeah. It's very interesting to me that we compete with each other. You had probably Viking was your main competitor at the time, and then we have all the manufacturers that had different file folders and different paper clips, different pens, and it's just always amazed me how when we come together, I compete against the other distributors in the group, how we come together for a common good, and it's overwhelming to me at times that um, we compete so fiercely um, on a day-to-day basis, and when we come to these events and when we come to the gala, we're all friends and we are there for a common good, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're coming, excuse me, we're coming together for a common good. The other thing about it, the office products industry for me became my family. And
Sure, sure.
I mean, Jamie Fellows of the world and the others that I became very friendly with, and competitors that I was friendly with. Somehow the industry was a nice, warm industry. Now, we did compete. People, of course, hated me on the discounting and all that sort of stuff. But uh, so you had the two things going. I thought the industry was good, and then the common cause was good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're just thinking about your business. It was different than other dealers, right? Did you come up with the catalog concept for the industry or the flyers that you did?
I'll tell you what, I graduated college. I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
None. I worked for my dad in his chicken store at that time, showing chicken is really that. Thought I'd wanted to become a lumberjack and went out to Oregon. And by the time I got there, I drove a car for a dealer and I went down the old Route 66 and so on. By the time I got there, I decided I didn't, so I took a train back to Chicago and worked for my brother, and had a chicken store. And an uncle came by one day, saw me scrubbing the floors, and he said, mopping the floor. And he says, "What kind of a job is that for a college graduate? Why don't you come to work for me?" So I did. I went to work for my uncle. He was in the food business, sold soup concentrates, gelatin dessert. Uh, and I had 1 week of training, and I was a salesman. And my territory was from the Mississippi River to the Atlantic Ocean, and from Canada to Florida.
Wow.
And I had a Chevy, no air conditioning. I go out on the road for 5 weeks at a time, come back for 3, 4 days, go back out again. 5 years of that.
Mm-hmm.
I got my MBA in business there,
Sure.
calling on distributors of food of all kinds, working with them. And I really began to understand business. So I got married in the 4th year. I happened to be home from the road one day. My brother Harvey was home from the Navy. He was talking to his girlfriend from high school. He said, "Jack, why don't you talk to Audrey? I think you'd like her." So I did, and I did like her. So on occasions when I was back in Chicago, we dated. And one day, after not too many dates, I mean, within a year, probably 8 dates, she sends me a letter and says, "Jack, you're a nice guy, and I'm a pretty good girl. I think we ought to get married." So my dad agreed to do something for City of Hope. I said, "Okay, fine." So we got married.
That's awesome.
The wonderful.
How did you decide to get into the office products business? This is for my own kind of posterity.
Well, I'll tell you the story, right? After a year of marriage and being on the road, I said, "This is not a good way to be married."
Mm-hmm.
So I left that job and I got a job with somebody who manufactured sample cases for salesmen and distributed briefcases to people like uh, Edward Don, Simon Eyes, etc. They had large sales forces.
Mm-hmm.
So we made that a separate division, and that became my division. And I knew this guy because I'd helped create a catalog for him. And then we did mail order business and make briefcases.
Yeah.
And also I sold door to door in Chicago with major companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a year. He sold the company, and I didn't want to stay with the people he sold it to, so I left. I started looking for a job, and I think I failed one of the exams. I guess I'd be a lousy employee. And I said, "I want to go in business for myself. What business can I go into?" So I said, "Well, I've been selling briefcases. I can still sell some briefcases. I got some customers. What else do they buy?" They buy office supplies. I said, okay, I'll go into the office supply business. I had no idea how big it was.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea how many competitors there were. I didn't give a damn. I just said, okay, I'm going to go into it. And that's what I did. I had some business cards printed up. I put a phone in my dad's chicken store. And I went to a wholesaler, United Stationers,
Sure.
which used to be utility stores in Chicago. And Howard Wolf was another fabulous guy in the industry, who also, by the way, died of cancer. Agreed to sell me. He said, even I'm not supposed to sell you because I'm only supposed to sell the stocking dealers, but I'll sell you. He put up a $500 deposit. Well, I had borrowed $2,000 from my father-in-law. I put up the $500 deposit. And I'd go out and started selling whatever I sold. On a Monday, I'd call in on Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock and order it if you want and sell on Tuesday until about 3 o'clock. I'd go down to United Stationers, pick up the merchandise, rush back to my dad's chicken store, and where they were killing chickens, I was wrapping packages and I rushed it to United Parcel. And that's the start.
That's fantastic.
My
Now,
first my first mailing, if you will, was a penny postal card. In those days, a penny postal card. I had 5 items on it. I remember there was an adding machine tape.
mm-hmm.
There was a mimeograph paper and some other items. And at sale prices. And I did it by hand. So, and I'm not an artist. And I sent it out to 150 people. I'd call them. They got some business for me. So, okay. And then I did a 1-page flyer. And that worked out. Then I did a 4-page, and then an 8-page, and 16-page. We had moved from when we originally I started my home when my brother Harvey joined me a year and a half later. We shoveled a ton and a half of coal out of Uncle Herb's basement. He had converted to gas. We faded it blue and pink because the old boy I had to grow. And we put in the proverbial kitchen tables. And we both got there at 7:30 in the morning. We did whatever we had to do, and we very carefully decided territories. I took everything south of Madison Avenue, and he took everything north of Madison. And we went out selling,
Mm-hmm.
but I kept mailing. Okay. And no intention of going into the mail order business. I thought I was just advertising.
Sure.
One day, we moved to a storefront over the top. One day, we couldn't get out to sell. We had 2 employees, one a bookkeeper, another one was supposed to answer phones. But the phones were ringing so much that we had to stay in. So he said, oh, okay. Well, stay in, answer phones. We'll only go out if there's a big furniture order or something. And suddenly we were in the mail order business. No strategy, no thought of anything.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, you mentioned Howard Wolf. He was another,
He was a legend. He was terrific.
and he was a spirit of life guy too, right?
Yeah, he was very good.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Were others from there.
Mm-hmm. So we're 44 years into this now, and I think this year we'll be over 300 million. 300 million. Did you ever think back in the day that we would ever be there?
No, back in the day, I never imagined we'd be there. Back in the day, I never imagined Quote would have 800,000 customers nationwide. I started at something new 20 years ago, Jack Moore Center for Teaching America's Founding Principles in History. And now we're a leader in that industry. We're doing amazing things at K-12, at college. I never imagined that. I do remember one thing over and over again. From little acorns, giant oaks grow.
Ah, fantastic.
And that's what happened. And that's the story of America.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, it's been my pleasure to spend and my privilege to spend time with you today, and I thank you for starting it. We all do in our industry, and I look forward to seeing it at the gala in September.
Well, I'll be there, but I'm very, very thankful to Jamie Fellows who's been with it all along and for all the others that have brought it to such a great, great success. So I congratulate all of you.
Well, thank you.